If you're trying to figure out how to find the best deal on a cruise, you've come to the right place, because today we're going to be talking about the 10 best rules for buying a cruise. These tips will help you save money and save a ton of headache when it comes to buying your next cruise. Hey guys, it's Tanner from Cruzely.com, and I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar. You're looking for a cruise, you start searching in one website, and then another, and another, and another. The next thing you know, your head is spinning. You've searched a dozen websites, you're trying to find the best deal, you just cannot figure it out. You just want a low price, and you don't want to have to worry about all the hassle. Good news, today we're talking about the 10 rules for buying a cruise. These rules will help you find cheap deals, get the best deal, and how to even get a better deal after you actually book. So we're gonna go through the rules step by step. We'll tell you them all. They're super simple. Let's get started. Okay, so the first rule you're gonna wanna follow is something you want to do. So in this case, you want to be flexible with your cruise dates. Now this is by far the most important rule to how much you'll pay for a cruise. Cruise fares, just like airline fares, they're gonna vary based on time of year. So if you go during a time of year that's really popular, you're gonna pay more than if you go during a time of year when there's not as much demand. Makes sense, right? So when is it popular? Well, we looked at a cruise that sails continually throughout the year, which gives us a chance to be able to look exactly at how much this cruise is each and every time that it sails over the course of over a year. So you can see it in the chart here. We've charted both the balcony room and an interior room if you just want that get aboard the ship price. So you can see here, there's huge spikes in price around Christmas and New Year's. There's huge spikes around summer break. And then again, during Christmas and New Year's, there's another spike the next year, even though it's more than a year in advance. You can also see some smaller spikes in there, including spring break. So the bottom line is, prices vary the most based on when school is and isn't in session. You'll pay more when school is out of session, times like Christmas break, times like summer break, times like spring break. This is when families can all cruise together, so there's a lot more demand for cruises, which means higher prices. Now, if you're fortunate enough to be able to sail in, say, late January, or maybe April, or October, or late September, you're gonna find a whole lot better deals, much lower prices. In some cases, you can even find prices that are 50% lower during the school year than they are at the height of the summer break. So our first rule of cruise buying was something that you want to do. Now we're gonna tell you something that you don't wanna do. Don't think that there's some sort of magic site that miraculously has lower prices than anywhere else. We've searched every site out there. Believe me, 99% of the time, the cruises are the exact same price, whether you're getting it directly from the cruise line or if you're going with a specialty retailer that maybe has specializes in last minute cruises or something like that. We've searched again and again and again. The prices always come back the same no matter where you search. So you can see here we've got a chart of where we've searched before. So this is a sample Carnival cruise from Fort Lauderdale. It's the same price on Carnival as it is on Orbitz, as it is on Travelocity. All of them have the same prices. There might be a little bit of a difference in some of the onboard perks, but it's usually not enough to make it worth your while to go search dozens and dozens of sites. So be happy that when you see the price on one website, that's probably more than likely 99% of the time going to be the same price you find across the entire internet, no matter how long you search. Okay, so rule number 3 is another thing that we don't want you to do if you want to find the lowest price. Don't think you're gonna save a lot of money by sailing at the last minute. We've looked at it, we've analyzed prices for cruises. It's just not the case. In fact, the cruise lines have come out and flat out said, we don't want to discount cruises at the last minute anymore, because if we do that, passengers are gonna wait to book their trip. They want you to book as far in advance as possible. In other words, there's not huge discounts for booking last minute. So take a look at our chart here. So we've charted the price of a cruise over about a period of 18 months. And you can see in September of this year versus September from a year from now, you're paying almost the identical price for an interior cabin. Now in the balcony cabin, there's actually a slight discount on that Christmas break spike that you get a discount if you actually book farther in advance. So this idea that you're gonna save a lot of money booking at the last minute, it just isn't true based on what the data says. So rule number 4 is one that I think a lot of people are gonna really like to hear. It's something you don't wanna do. You don't wanna get distracted by all those cruise line sales that you see advertised constantly. Here's the secret. Cruise lines always run sales. They're going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all throughout the year. You go to a cruise line website, you're gonna see a sale. Yes, they change. Yes, they add this or take away this or I have this offer. But a lot of it is very similar to, say, getting 50% off versus buy one, get one free. In the end, they all come together and have pretty much the same exact price, no matter what the sale is. So what you want to do is always look at the bottom line price, not the sale that's offered. In fact, most of the sales end up the same price. So you don't have to worry so much about waiting for a great sale. If you see a cruise and you see a cruise price that you like, go ahead and book it. The sales are really just there to kind of get you in the door, and they're always running. You're not gonna miss out. So when it comes to how much you're gonna pay for a cruise, rule number 5 is second only to the first rule we told you about being flexible with dates. Rule number 5 says you do want to sail on older ships if you want to find the cheaper deals. Cruise lines flat out are in arm race. They're building bigger, better, nicer cruise ships constantly. Where does that lead the older ships? There's a lot of demand for the newest and the latest and greatest, but cruise lines seem to have a little bit more difficulty filling up these older ships. As a result, less demand means lower prices. So older ships are usually always cheaper than your newer ships. In fact, we found the prices on these ships can give you about a 50% discount over what you'll pay to sail on a brand new ship, and often the routes that they're running are very, very similar. So when in doubt, you want to save some money and just get on the ship, look for an older ship versus one of the new, fancy, bright and shiny new ones. So say you've used our rules so far, you found the cruise that you want to sail on, it seems like a good price. We want to tell you one more thing about saving a lot of money on your cruise, and that is you should choose your room carefully. Here's what's going on. You go through and you find a cruise you like that you want to sail on. Now when you book, what you'll find are lots and lots of options for upgrades. Cruise lines love to offer you upgrades, and they're most often priced per person per day. So let's do some math. Say moving from the 3rd deck to the 8th deck may be only $5 per person per day. It doesn't sound like much, right? Over a week-long cruise for a couple cruising, that turns out to be $70. That's a shore excursion, really, that you're paying for this cabin upgrade. Now, some of the upgrades are worth it, but you always want to do your math before you decide. Better yet, you can just let the cruise line pick your room for you. There's no extra charge for that, and it's almost always a great room. Now, we told you earlier that cruise lines are always running sales. Rule number 7 for cruise buying kind of ties into that. Don't buy the wave season hype. If you haven't heard of wave season, it's this period from about January to March where people are planning and booking trips. A lot of people think if they wait until wave season, they'll get the best deals. It's like an extended Black Friday for cruises. We're here to tell you, we've looked, it really seems like prices are the exact same as they were before. Cruise lines might hype up as a wave season deal, but the bottom line price, what you pay, it's pretty much right in line with what you pay anywhere else or any other time of year. Now, that makes a lot of sense. Think about it. What if cruise lines always gave their best deals during wave season? If that was the case, then they would train passengers to wait and wait and wait until wave season to book their cruise. Then the cruise line doesn't know how to plan because they don't know how many people are going to be on their ships. So it makes sense that the prices during wave season would actually be similar to what you see the rest of the year. That's exactly what we've studied and found in our research of cruise prices year after year after year. Wave season at this point really just seems like a lot of hype more than a real deal. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end of our 10 rules for buying a cruise, but we still have a lot of important things to tell you. Like number 8, don't think you're gonna save a lot of money by booking way far in advance. Now, we told you not to book last minute, and now we're telling you not to book far in advance. Well, which is it? When should you book? The truth is, everything we've seen, it doesn't really matter so much when you book as much as it does when you sail. So whether you book in January or you book in July or you book in October, what's really going to drive the price of that cruise is when the ship actually sails and how much demand there is for that trip. So that said, booking ahead is a good thing to do, not necessarily because you're going to save much money, but number one, you have better cabin choices. And number two, if you book early and the price drops, then there's a good chance you could get money back as onboard credit or a refund on your credit card after you book. So that brings us to rule number 9. You want to book when you find a price that you like. Once you find a deal that you think, yeah, I can afford this, this is the trip I want to go on, don't fret over the price rising dramatically or the price falling dramatically if you wait longer. Go ahead and book it. Truth is, prices do vary for cruises, kind of like how they vary for airfare, but they don't vary to the extremes like you see on an airline. It's two completely separate markets. So a cruise line might raise the price by a few bucks, but it's not gonna be much. That means there's not much sense in waiting for a lower price because you think it's gonna get lower as you get closer to the cruise date. As we've already shown you, that's really not the case. So when you find a deal that you like, pull the trigger, go ahead and book it. So the final rule on our list, rule number 10, do watch for price drops after you buy. Now this relates to that dreaded feeling when you buy something and you go back 2 weeks later and now it's on sale. That can happen with cruising, but don't worry. Here's the deal. If you book early, nearly every cruise line that we've ever seen is gonna have some sort of price protection. So you book early and then about once a week you should go back and see, hey, has the price dropped? Has the price dropped? Believe it or not, you want the price to drop if you book early. In this case, you can call up the cruise line and say, hey, I booked for $500, now this cruise is at $460. What can you do to help me out? Cruise lines want you to be happy on board. We've personally had experience with this where we've called after a price drop and we got a refund in the form of onboard credit. So this can happen to you. The key is you want to book early. So at least 90 days out, sometimes as much as 180 days out. And if you do this, then you're almost always eligible for the price protection guarantee that cruise lines give because they want you to book early. They don't want to have a penalty for booking late, they don't want to penalize you for booking early and the price drops. They want you to be happy and book early. And if you see a price drop, go ahead, get in touch with the cruise line and you'll almost always, assuming you booked early enough, get a refund in the form of onboard credit or sometimes even a refund back to your credit card that you used to make your payment. So that's it for our 10 rules of cruise buying. We hope that you have become a smarter cruise shopper. You figured out that being flexible with your dates is going to be the biggest driver in how much money you'll save as well. Be sure to look for those older ships. They oftentimes have a lot better deals. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please like it below and we urge you to subscribe. We're going to have so many more videos about tips and advice on how you can save money. In fact, we already do in our library. Go ahead and subscribe and you'll never miss a thing. And be sure to check out our other videos on Cruzely. And you can always visit Cruzely.com for more tips and advice. Happy sailing!